Welcome to Concussion Talk Podcast. My name is Dick Mercer.
And I'm Erin Guilfoyle.
And this is episode 76. And we're talking to Curtis Anderson, who suffered a brain injury in 2002 in a rodeo in Alberta, Canada. He now speaks publicly about prevention and awareness. Before the interview, we will now pause for a message from our sponsor. Concussion Talk Podcast is presented by HeadCheck Health. HeadCheck Health bridges the gaps in concussion care through simple, powerful technology. Join organizations like the Canadian Football League, Track Factory Racing, the Canadian Junior Hockey League, Eastern Washington University, and Volleyball Canada, who rely on HeadCheck Health to improve communication and optimize care. Visit headcheckhealth.com for more.
Okay.
All
Hello,
right.
everyone. My name is Kurt. Oh,
It's okay. Thank you so much for joining us, Curtis. Yeah,
Thanks
go
for having
ahead
me
with
on.
your story there.
pardon me?
Oh, you can go ahead with your story there. Just kind of give us a little bit of
Okay.
your history and background and kind of what landed you here.
Okay. Well, on June 27th, I was riding bulls at the Pinocchio Stampede, and I lost my balance, and my head smashed the bull's head twice, and I spent 3 weeks in a drug-induced coma at the U of A hospital, and
What year was
I
this?
started out with a clean slate. With walking, the physiotherapist walked alongside me, teaching me how to walk step by step for an hour a day. It'd be your cane, left foot, and then right. And then I progressed to walking on my own, wearing a helmet in case of fall. And a year later, I was walking on my own with no assistance. And with my speech, in the beginning, I had to write everything down in a scribbler to communicate. Then I put vowels into words into sentences. And I started out with ice chips, thickened water, now the real stuff, and a feeding tube, pureed food, then diced food, chopped up in little pieces. Now I'm able to cut my own steak. And in the beginning, I was unable to move my left arm. In therapy, I tossed bean bags from the edge of a table to a pail while trying to keep my balance.
Wow. So as you right now, Aaron and I planned who would ask the first question, and we decided she would, but now we don't know who's going to ask the question. So I guess how long ago was this brain injury?
18 and a half years. It happened on June 27th, 2002. And 18 and a half years later, I'm still seeing lots of progress in my recovery.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. From where you started that, I mean, you definitely, sounds like you definitely progressed a lot. So what was your when you first realized you were injured? What was your first memory? Or not memory, I guess, because I know that there's no first memory. But when did you realize that you were in a tough situation?
Well, I remember the first thing that I remember was the ambulance ride from the university to the Glen Rose. But once I got to the Glen Rose, I soon realized, I was no longer able to walk, no longer able to talk or move my left arm. It was like being a baby at 27 years old.
Yeah.
You soon find out what you're made of.
Yeah. Aaron, did you want to jump in? Or?
Yeah. So what were some of your motivation factors in getting through your recovery?
Well, from day one, I always wanted, to get better. And as a survivor, as Nick would know, any small achievement is like climbing a mountain. And I guess my main motivation is I just wanted to get better. And there was an opportunity to get better. So I just kept pushing myself and kept exercising and staying focused. For 18 and a half years, my full-time job has been my recovery. And
yeah. I was Aaron and I both read several articles about your now your public speaking. So where do you speak publicly about brain injury and wearing concussion awareness and prevention?
I speak at schools, in the oil field, at safety meetings, or like to hockey teams or any sports teams, and let them know about, well, my brain injury, but also the severity of repeated concussions. Like 2 weeks before my accident, I had a severe concussion at another rodeo. So my brain was already injured to a certain degree. And the 2 hits I took at Pinoca that day took it over the edge. So, like, I'm living proof what can happen when you go back too soon without letting your brain heal from the first concussion.
Right.
Mm.
Oh, sorry, Aaron.
I was just gonna say, during that first concussion, do you remember much about any symptoms you had then and kind of why you decided to go back in?
Like back then, like with, say, rodeo, it was just, you didn't know nothing about, or I myself didn't know nothing about concussions, and I just, I wasn't playing a tough act. It was just kind of what everyone did. You just went back and got on. But I mean, when I got hurt, 2 guys in Western Canada wore a helmet riding bulls, and now there's probably 95% or better. So it's changed.
Nice.
And I speak at a lot of bull riding events, and I talk to the guys one-on-one about, the severity of repeated concussions, because, I mean, I'm living proof what happens.
So, do you find that they're very receptive to you when you talk at boring events?
It's a changed atmosphere now. Guys are taking, taking a break now. Once they get a knock, they know enough to take some time off now and go back when they're ready.
Right. And well, Aaron, did you want to ask something? I was going to ask you just about being from the East Coast. I know very little about bull riding or rodeo, really. So, what does bull riding entail for you physically? Well, not you personally, not now, but before that, when in 2002, before your injury, you had done a lot of bull riding. And what do you do? What does that entail?
Like to ride a bull, or just to get in shape to ride one?
Well, I guess both. Yeah, I mean, both.
Well, like for bull riding, you got a rope that goes around the bull. There's the handle, and you hold on to that handle, and you got to stay on for 8 seconds is the requirement.
Okay.
And there's a lot of balance. And that day that I got hurt, I lost my balance and we hit heads. But you have to be in shape.
Yeah.
But it
sounds like it. So after 8 seconds, if 8 seconds elapses and you're off the bull, does that just doesn't count? Like your run doesn't count?
Yeah, if you don't make 8 seconds, it's disqualified. And if you touch the bull with your free hand, you're disqualified too.
And I'm sorry. I think Aaron had a question there, but that's
no. I'm just fascinated. The closest I've ever come to a bull was like a mechanical one in a bar. Like,
do you get like a certain number of disqualifications before you're out of the competition? Out of the competition. Is it like a attrition event or?
Well, like you only at the rodeos you only get on once, but there's some rodeos that have a short go, and like they'll say they'll take the top 6 scores to another round. But at most of the rodeos or and most of the bull ridings, there's they call it a long go, where there's say 30 guys go, and then they'll take the top 6 or 8 to a short go, they call it.
Yeah.
But it's mainly just one time at an event at the rodeos.
Wow. So it's just however long you can last is. So
you got 8 seconds to show your stuff.
Did you your first concussion, did that also happen at the rodeo? You 2 weeks before? Same type of deal, like you?
Yeah, kinda. And it's it's one of them things. It's a hard lesson to learn, but I've been able to teach a lot of people on my behalf, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you say that concussions would be one of the most common injuries within the
For bull
sport?
riding, by far, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because what kind of regulations would surround the sport too?
Like, there's no protocol, but it's getting better. I talked to, they're called the Canadian Pro to Sports Medicine Team, and I've talked to them, the past year, and it's guys are, taking themselves out of competitions, so I guess they're more educated and they make better choices. So it's still up to the contestant, but it's come to a point where they realize, that it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. No. And so when you speak publicly, what do you tell people at, say, a hockey team or a school, or what's your main, what do you discuss?
Well, I guess one of the main points is, I tell them, all the steps to recovery, but one of the main points is to try your hardest every day and to never give up. Because, it's 18 and a half years later, and you just can't give up. And some days you're going to be better than others, but everyone has those.
Yeah.
And a lot of it and realizing that a concussion or a brain injury isn't something to mess around with. A broken arm is 6 weeks, but a brain injury is forever.
Yeah. And sorry, Aaron, did you?
Yeah. Was there any particular coping mechanisms for any of your symptoms that you find super helpful, or anything you try to pass on to other survivors?
Well, one thing, you listen to your body. When you're tired, you're tired. And there's no better medicine than rest. And water's been a big thing to help, for me anyways, and a proper, I guess, a diet, and I don't know about you, Nick, but I am super sensitive to light still after all these years.
I'm a bit sensitive, but I know what you mean.
Light,
it's noise, yes.
Your noise. I remember the first time that I went out for dinner in my chair, rolling in the restaurant was like being hit by a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Because you hear everyone talking, all the background noise, then everyone stops and stares at you, and it was too much stimulation. But now, if I'm at a restaurant or someplace that is getting busy, I'll just go outside for 10, 15 minutes just to get away from the stimulation and then come back in.
Yeah, and I know, the first, when I was injured, for the first long time, I was just the noise. I just try to it's a pain, it's bothering me, but I would just try to ignore it. But it's a lot better now if I just it's not like sharp, it's not like loud, it's not like it's painful, but it's just so disorienting and just drowning. It drowns or drains your energy and stuff, and just like you said, just getting outside for 10 minutes or 5 minutes even, just get away from that and just relax, just take a few breaths and rest for a second, and just get away from the noise.
And I've been very fortunate. I haven't had any pain since day one.
Yeah, and me either. Yeah.
Pretty lucky that way.
Definitely. Yeah. And I was also going to ask you, I know for me, my main focus after my brain injury was my physiotherapy, because like you, I couldn't walk for the first August to March, so it was 6-7 months really. I couldn't walk at all, and even after that I was still a walker. But I focused my efforts to focus everywhere. But I was really concentrating. I thought about physio all the time. So that's all I ever thought about really, was just physiotherapy and getting back to being quote unquote normal. But so what did you have? Was there one thing that you really focused on? Really thought was like your main thing you need to work with?
Well, like, I mean, same as me, Nick, physiotherapy, I mean, to regain mobility. But right now, I mean, my walking and that's good, but my left arm, there's still, I can do lots with it, but there's a lot more to do. For a
Yeah.
while, I was keeping track of a list of all the things I could do with my left arm or two arms. And it was up until 2015, and there was over 70 things on the list. And half of those things took 10 years to do. Like it took me 10 years before I could touch each finger to my thumb on my left hand. And it just little things like that. Like
Yeah.
when you go out in public, watch, there's usually only a railing on one side of the stairs.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it was 8 years before I could use that left railing again. A lot of times, some of the times I went down the stairs backwards just so I could hang on to the railing with my right arm. And if there was no railing, I'd be stuck at the top or bottom if there wasn't someone to go up and down with you. So just things like that where
Yeah.
it took 10 years to pick change up off the counter. And it was 9 years before I could tie my own skates at the skating rink. So just little things, that people wouldn't think twice of, but those are big steps for me or any survivor, I guess.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think Aaron had a question there. Or
Yeah,
did
so I see your badge there too, Courage Canada, and I was just wondering if you could tell us a little about that as well.
Yeah. Well, in 2004, I started the Courage Canada trail ride to support brain injury awareness. And I started the ride to put brain injury on the map, but also for survivors to be around the horses and the sunshine and just a chance, that they don't get very often. And we have wagons available for the survivors. There's survivors that come from Lavis, that's in Lloydminster, Focusing, Vermilion, Valid, and Vegreville, and the Halbert Johnson Center for Brain Injury in Pinoka. And a lot of the same survivors come back year after year. So it's a pretty big day for them. And it's a fundraiser also. So some of the proceeds we raise go to each brain injury center. It helps pay for travel costs for the survivors to go on field trips throughout the year, and it pays for survivors to go on the ride the next year. And the money that goes to the Halbert Johnson Center for Brain Injury in Pinoka, it helps purchase therapy equipment. So it's a pretty big day.
That's excellent.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's run every single year since?
Yeah, the last Saturday in May, and this year's the only year we've missed since 2004.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The ride's raised, a fair chunk of money, but you can't put a number on how much awareness that's been raised. It gets lots of media, so that's the main thing, is to raise the awareness.
Yeah. I've read this St. Albans paper article about you were doing being a leg of a triathlon, running a triathlon.
It was a relay triathlon, and I did the running part. I did 5 kilometers in 59 minutes.
Wow.
So, hello?
Yeah. It's wow. Oh, I think maybe his audio was it. I'll have to delete this bit here while he finds.
I can see you. I can hear you.
I can. Yeah, I can. We can. I just to write something. I'll write this.
But anyways, yeah. So
okay.
It was in August 12th, 2018. I did this triathlon. It's. You look back at, you learn how to walk step by step, and then here you're out doing a triathlon. It's a pretty good feeling. And then I was with Chris Natch and Justin Natras, and the last mile, Justin came out and ran with me. And then when we got up to the finish line, all the other triathletes were there, cheering or clapping their hands. So that's a pretty good feeling,
Nice.
When they know your story and they realize the road you've walked.
Yeah.
And I guess it gives other people hope. You know, it was a good feeling.
It sounds like, yeah. It's amazing. And also, but you were saying that there's lots of horses and you have carriages and stuff. But have you gotten on a horse or, well, not a bull, but have you gotten on a horse since?
Yeah, actually, when I was in there, Halford Johnson Center, me and a couple of friends took a 6-week therapeutic riding course up by Red Deer, and at that time I was just starting to walk more and more, so it really helped with my balance, and just something to look forward to or look back on. But I ride in the trail ride every year, and horses are very therapeutic for me. Just the smell of the horse is a good feeling, and now I can brush the horse with my left hand, so it's also therapy in a way.
Yeah, the tactile. Yeah. So, Aaron?
Yeah, no, that's amazing, like the therapy that those contribute as well. Is there any other therapies you actively try to take part in?
Well, actually, you know, I do my own, but I've been riding on my stationary bike, and it'll be a while ago now, but I started a bike ride. I wanted to ride from coast to coast. I just kept track of the miles on the calendar.
Yeah.
And I started out in Vancouver, and I've gone 2,019.1 miles in 76 days.
Nice.
So it's just the way to, you know, well, it makes my legs stronger, which makes my balance stronger.
Yeah.
And it just helps all the way around. And
stay in shape.
Riding a stationary bike or any bike, the oxygen gets deeper into your brain, so it helps, you know, brain function, brain repair. So I mean, as a survivor, that's a good thing.
Definitely. And well, I think that's all the questions I can think of, and I think Aaron is nodding. And did you have anything else you wanted to? If you had one message you wanted to leave people with, what would it be?
To never give up. And I mean, you'll never know how strong you are until your back is against the wall. And I mean, take the time and spend some time with a person and make a difference in their life, because one day someone's going to come along and make a difference in yours. And I mean, when you try your hardest every day, whether it be recovery, work, school, you're going to see results. So I guess try is the main thing.
That's a great message. And yes, and Aaron, did you have any other questions, or
Yes.
And Curtis, did you have anything else you wanted to, other than that never give up, was where can people find out more about you?
Well, they can Curtis Anderson 6 on Instagram.
Curtis
on
Anderson
LinkedIn.
6? Curtis Anderson 6?
Yeah, and if anybody wants to talk to me, share their story, or have questions about mine, you can phone me at 780-581-4802. And there's one more thing I want to say is...
Oh, yes.
Determination, dedication, try, grit, courage, confidence, commitment, resilience, tenacity, perseverance, optimism, strength, and the most important, patience is a choice until it is the only choice that you have. And Nick, I'd just like to say thank you for having this podcast to raise awareness of your story and other survivor story, and, you know, give people out there hope. And it's a good thing you're doing.
Thanks so much. That means a lot. And actually, I heard that quote, patience. I read that in another article about you, and I thought that was a great quote of patience being a choice until it's the only choice you have left. I thought that was an excellent quote. So thank you very much for speaking to us. And I'm sure you've definitely inspired others by this interview, and hopefully they can reach out to you on Instagram or your phone number that you mentioned earlier. And the you can reach out to you and you can keep spreading awareness and promoting prevention and inspiring others. So thank you so much, Curtis.
Yeah, maybe Nick, one day me and you could speak together.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be great.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, Curtis. I loved hearing your story, and I hope that by sharing it, we can inspire others as well.
Thank you, Curtis, and thank you everyone for listening. Please check out concussiontalk.com and the Concussion Talks YouTube page. As always, music at the beginning of this podcast is by Ben Sound. www.bensound.com.